folks, welcome to Board Game Corner. I'm Mark.
And I'm Randy.
This week we're taking a look at Element. We're taking command of Earth, Wind, Fire, and Water.
Element is brought to you by Rather Dashing Games. It plays 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, and each game takes about 30 minutes to play. We're proud to announce that Element is the first recipient of the Board Game Corner Cornerstone Collection Award.
Yes, we're very excited about that. All right, let's go take command of the elements. Fire, water, earth, and wind. These 4 elements had driven mankind's mythology, philosophy, and science for eons. Now, master the power of these primal forces in this easy to learn but deeply strategic game of capture and area control. These are the 4 character pawns known as sages. In a 3 and 4 player game, this is how the board sets up. And in a 2-player game, you start in the middle of the board, going head to head with your opponent. Okay, so the goal of Element is to remove all movement options of your opponent's sage. This is done by strategic placement of element stones and using the unique properties of each element to encircle your opponent and claim victory. On your turn, you pull 4 random element tokens from the bag, and your sage gets 1 free movement in any direction. But if you decide to pull less tokens from the bag, you gain more movement options. So, like pulling 3 tokens then gives you 2 movement, and so on. The law of replacement, each element can replace another. Water replaces fire, fire replaces wind, wind replaces earth, and earth replaces water. And you can do this as many times as you have element tokens to do so. Okay, so let's take a look at how each element works. The manual gives many fantastic examples on how each element behaves. It's very straightforward and very well done. Fire. Fire simply spreads. Placing a token here would allow you to pull a free fire token from the bag and place it here, showing how the fire spreads. Another configuration might be something like this. And if you place a fire token here, then the fire is going to spread on 2 ends, again allowing you to pull free fire tokens from the element bag. Water. Water turns into rivers. Placing a token here is now the head of the river, allowing you to move it 2 spaces. Anything in a line, that's how many spaces you can move for water. So here we're going to move 2. 1, 2, putting out the fire due to the laws of replacement. Placing a water token here now becomes the new head of the river, allowing you to move it in this direction, again moving orthogonally, not diagonally. Moving 1, 2, 3. Earth. Earth is unique. It is the only element that can change, and what I mean by that is that you can turn Earth into mountain ranges. Currently, this sage could escape here. But if Earth was a mountain range, that would no longer be a viable move. And the way you do that is you simply stack Earth. So now all 3 of these tokens have become a mountain range, and the more tokens you chain against this, the bigger the mountain range, which then prevents any sages from crossing diagonally. Mountain ranges also are unique in the fact that they now avoid the rule of replacement. Wind. You know, wind is a pretty powerful escape method. So using wind, you can lift yourself across the board and basically end up with free movement. So in this example, we're going to use wind to escape to here, and then we're going to use our free move to go here, and then we're going to move over the wind again here. Now, the other neat thing you can do about with wind is make it a whirlwind. So we're going to stack it. And this sage then, from over here, would then move all the way to here. Fantastic way to get out of a sticky situation. Okay, so it's also very important to note that you can use your sage to also block your opponent's movement. In a 2-player game, it is very strategic with lots of back and forth. However, a 3 and 4-player game turns into a race as well. You're trying to surround the player's sage that is sitting to your right, but you have to be really careful, because if you trap the wrong sage, then one of your fellow opponents will win the game instead. The game ends immediately when one sage is completely trapped. All right, what do we think of this game? Well, obviously,
It's only okay. We give it an award just for fun.
yeah, we're really proud to give this game our very first Cornerstone Collection Award. We really feel like this is could be a cornerstone game in your collection. It's just super accessible. It plays quick. It's in that sweet spot of 30 minutes. And there's so much strategy going on.
There is.
That it really, we have yet to have two games play the same.
Right, and I was very cautious when I approached this game because I grew up with a game called Pente, which is a game that has a similar board. It's a grid on which you put basically glass beads. And those games it's a good game, don't get me wrong, but we didn't need another game like that.
Right.
And I was very pleased when I encountered Element that it's a very dynamic game. Unlike some of these games where you're just placing beads on grids, it's a very interesting game. It's not a perfect knowledge game. You can't anticipate what your opponent's going to do, not only because you don't know how they're going to play, but you also don't know what they're going to draw from the bag, or even how many elements they're going to draw from the bag.
Or what you're going to draw.
Yeah, exactly. So you have lots of opportunities to both be very offensive or very defensive.
Yeah.
Like you said, each game plays differently. And the nice thing is, even if you find that one game didn't go your way, 30 minutes later you can start another one. It's just
that's what's so great too, right? You can play. I mean, typically we're playing like 3 to 5 games back to back,
right?
And it's just okay. What's next?
And I hesitate to even call this a filler because unlike some card games, for example, that you might pull out on the table, play a couple games while you're waiting for everybody to arrive at game night. This is a game that we found that you will want to play multiple times over, and before you know it, 2 hours have passed.
So I have to tell a story because one of our friends that part of our Cornerstone, or not Cornerstone, but our Corner Squad game crew, took it to their place to play, and we played and played and played that night. And the next day, they called me, "Can you come back so we can play this again?"
Because this is the only copy available around our circle.
It was really engaging. Everyone we've shown it to, it's just been super engaging, and I haven't coaxed anybody, and it's always been, "Hey, can we play again?"
Yeah, there was no arm twisting when you brought me into this.
Right, super exciting. And it's really neat to see when people figure out some of the strategies of how to use the elements, and to see water roll across the board, and suddenly you've got a river of 5 element tokens for the river, and it's just flowing all over the board, and you can just get those crazy in circles that you just like, whoa, that's really cool how that works. So there's a lot of neat things that can happen in a game, and like I said, really excited that I've played probably 20 plus times just this version, not even the prototypes I played last year. Just this version I've played at least 20 times, and every single game has been different.
And another thing that makes this game great is that the production value is wonderful. It's got a lot of table appeal.
It does.
Put it on the table, and it's something that will draw people to the table, even if they're not gamers. And this is the interesting thing, is Mark mentioned how accessible it was. This is not just a game you can pull out and play with your gamer friends. This is a great game for, you've invited another couple over, you're having dinner, and afterwards, this is a game that you can quickly teach, and people who aren't necessarily deep strategists will find this game engaging. It's a great game for holidays, like after Christmas. You pull this out and you'll be able to play with your nephews as well as your uncles.
That's one of the things we look for in this award, is that we want a game that is very accessible. People can easily glom onto it, and even if they're not gamers, everything just clicks and makes a lot of sense. So, we really feel this game fills that niche really well.
It does, and it's a good price point as well.
It's a really good price point.
You'll get a lot of bang for your buck for the money you spend on it.
And it's the artwork again is so nice that. I would even say you could put this out on a table and just leave it set up. It looks really nice. So I can't recommend this game enough. And it's rare that I give a game straight up 4 corners out of 4, but I am going to give this one 4, just because everything about it I have enjoyed. There hasn't been any aspect of, I wish they had done this differently. Even the rule book. Oh man, we read so many rule books that are so rough to get through. But the rule book for Element is super clear, amazing examples in that book, just teaching you how all the elements work. I really didn't have any questions. It was like, wow, that's how you play. There weren't any mysteries. So big kudos to Rather Dashing, because that manual is so well done. So I'm definitely 4 corners out of 4 for me.
Almost that for me.
Yeah.
Not surprised, but definitely a 3.5.
Yeah.
I would love to see, not that I have tons of money to throw around. This isn't a very expensive game, but I would actually pay additional money for even fancier token.
A premium edition, right?
Because as good as the production value is for the price point it's at, I would pay more to have even a fancier thing sitting on my coffee table.
Yeah, we need to have like a marble board with heavy tokens.
Yeah, or glass or what do they call it? Resin pieces here too.
It could be pretty neat.
It's going to cost more.
But I really like the intricate detail on
They do a great
tokens.
job. Yeah, they do.
It really turned out nice.
It feels good. They don't feel
Even
cheap or
the
anything
edges
like that.
of it look really,
it feels
really
it feels tactily tactily pleasing. There we go.
So it's really well done, and so I'm definitely giving it the high score. I debated as well, right, about that, because how many times can you say a game is like a 10.0, right?
Right,
Perfect
right.
game. When, there's probably some things that people aren't going to enjoy about this, but for me, I've been really enjoying abstracts lately, and this game really just works, and works for all of us. Our whole team has really enjoyed it, and the fact that Grant and Mike gave us an early look was just, we feel very honored to be part of this game and bring it to all of you.
Yep. I think you'll enjoy this, especially for the type of game it is. This isn't going to be a game that for people who want to have a 6-hour campaign with lots of strategy, lots of RPG, stuff like this. But for the area it's in, for the niche it's in, it fills it excellently.
Very, very excellent. The whole, the accessibility is it's really there. It's easily a game you'd pull out like a Ticket to Ride, for people who are not gamers who could easily jump into it. And people who are gamers, there's some really in-depth strategies you can get into with how the elements move and how the board changes, ever changing, which is really great. And as you play more games, as we discovered, and people get more used to the strategies, suddenly the games become longer. And, it really fills the entire board before you finish the game. And it comes down to that last move, which is really neat.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that, you evolve as you play the game to understand the elements better. You use them more tactically. Everybody gets better at both being offensive as well as defensive. So then it becomes much more of it's never a stalemate by any means, but it becomes much more balanced. People don't win or lose by accident or by luck. There's a lot of focus, a lot of evolution as you play. So again, I think you'll enjoy it.
Yep. The other thing we should mention is that a game of this type, having it be 2 to 4 players, is pretty unique. So the two-player game is very different than a 3 and 4 player game. I feel like the 3 and 4 player game have that race element built into it.
They do.
Because it's a round robin, and you're trying to get the sage on your right. So, and you have to be careful not to trap the wrong sage, because then you cause someone else to win. It's just a really unique take on this, and it works really well.
I'm glad you brought that up, because having played with multiple players, I do find that a lot of times games kind of degrade as you play with 2 players, and this I don't find that's the case at all.
No, it works really well on all player
counts. 2, 3, and 4, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, folks. Well, that's our review. Please check out Element. We can't recommend it enough. All right. So until next time, we'll see you at the table.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.